Canadian government has joined other peace-minded nations in doing everything possible to reduce world tensions, to assist in the settlement of international disputes by peaceful means, and to achieve disarmament with such controls as are necessary to preserve the security of all nations. However, the awesome threat of a major nuclear war involving North America remains a factor in plans for the defense of Canada. "11 steps to survival." Know the effects of nuclear explosion. A nuclear airburst produces a flash of light and heat which will start fires at a considerable distance instantly, and also a slower moving blast wave. Unless the eye is protected at once, a blaze of light, brighter than the sun, could cause temporary blindness or permanent injury. A nuclear ground burst will produce similar effects. And in addition, a large crater. A mushroom-shaped cloud, and widespread radioactive fallout. The heat flash will injure the unprotected skin of those exposed to it. Up to 15 miles, your skin will be badly burned. Up to 18 miles, it will be badly blistered. Up to 23 miles, your skin will suffer burns of the sunburn type. Unlike the heat flash, which travels with the speed of light, the blast wave from a nuclear explosion travels more slowly. The blast wave from a 5 megaton bomb will take 35 seconds to reach you if you were 10 miles away. Immediate radiation from the nuclear explosion will only be dangerous within 2 or 3 miles of the actual burst. Some protection against the immediate effects of a nuclear explosion is possible through quick action. Natural features of the terrain, ditches for example, may provide minimum protection. Man-made structures such as culverts may also offer some protection. If you are caught in your car, lie down immediately on the seat or the floor. This is an alert. A nuclear attack has been detected. Take cover at once. If you are at home, take shelter in a corner of your basement or under the stairs. Know the facts about radioactive fallout. Fallout is pulverized material made radioactive by the nuclear explosion and thrown up to great heights. Since varying and unpredictable air currents at these heights can spread it over vast areas, fallout could be the greatest danger to the greatest number of Canadians. As time passes, the radioactivity in fallout weakens rapidly. For example, after 7 hours, its radioactivity will have decreased by 90%. After 2 days, the radioactive particles will have lost 99% of their strength. And after 2 weeks, fallout will have lost 99.9% of its radioactivity. Even this level could still be considered dangerous under certain conditions. Protection against fallout depends largely on the shielding and distance between you and the radioactive dust. There is no protection in the open. There is slight protection in a house without a basement. There is fair protection in a house with a basement. By far the best protection is in a fallout shelter. Know the warning signal and have a battery-powered radio. The sound of sirens or other warning devices means listen to a radio. When you hear the warning signal, turn on your radio at once and listen for further instructions. This is an attack warning. A nuclear attack on North America has been detected. you must take cover immediately. If you are at home, go to your basement or fallout shelter at once. Take your battery radio with you and listen to it for further instructions. Do not use the telephone after the attack warning. Telephone lines will be required for official use. Know how to take shelter. A properly built fallout shelter which places heavy material between you and the fallout can stop 99% of radiation. For example, 16 inches of brick or concrete blocks filled with sand, or 2 feet of packed earth. Plans for a shelter are available from emergency measures organizations. Such a fallout shelter is the best way to protect you and your family, since it keeps radiation at a distance and shields you during the time when it is most intense. If you haven't built a shelter, protection against fallout can be improvised in your basement. In a basement corner, preferably away from windows, materials, doors, furniture, bricks, concrete blocks, sand-filled boxes, books can be used to improvise, first, an emergency shelter. If you have time, on the floor overhead, pile any other heavy materials you have still available. Finally, earth or gravel should be piled against windows and basement walls above ground. In the winter, packed snow can be used. And when you go to your shelter, keep listening to the radio for further instructions. This is a fallout warning. Heavy fallout is reported moving northward towards your area. All listeners are warned to stay in shelter. If your house has no basement, select a space as far as possible from the outside walls and build as suggested for houses with basements. If you live in an apartment building, your best place to shelter is in the basement or central corridor. You can improve corridor areas by piling heavy furniture against the wall. When you go into your shelter, take your battery radio. Have 14 days emergency supplies. If broadcast instructions confine you to shelter for days or weeks, you will require emergency supplies in the shelter or handy to it. Fallout protection may be required for as long as 14 days. Your supplies should include water. An emergency water supply of 7 to 14 gallons per person is important. Water in containers, the hot water and toilet flush tanks, as well as your piping system, can be used for drinking and personal hygiene. To save this water and keep it fit for use, close off the main valve, which controls the flow from the outside water system. Then open the taps in the upper parts of the piping system. This will allow air to force the water into the lower parts of the system, from which it can be drained when needed. Food. Put all available canned and packaged foods and beverages in your shelter area or handy to it. Leave perishable foods in your refrigerator or freezer for later use. Don't forget eating utensils, a cooking pot, and a can opener. Equipment. Beds, toilet and plastic bags, utensils, kerosene stove and lamp, candles, spare batteries, a fire extinguisher, rope, an axe, and a calendar. Don't forget clothing and personal items such as clothing, boots, and gloves, which can be worn and left outside when broadcasts advise that it is safe to go out again for brief periods. Also bedding, warm sweaters and socks, personal hygiene items, and legal documents and papers. Toiletries should include soap, towels and basin, toilet and facial tissues, and other personal hygiene items. Recreational supplies should include books, playing cards, hobby materials, and other materials to help you pass the time. Know how to prevent and fight fires. Have fire extinguishers or water available because in the event of nuclear attack, you may not be able to rely on the fire department. Clear window areas and attic storage of combustible materials, including furniture and rugs. Get rid of accumulations of trash in and around your home. Window coverings should be drawn. Close curtains, shutters, and Venetian blinds on all windows. Shut off utility services when advised by broadcast instructions. It is not true, as many believe, that a nuclear explosion will cause only complete destruction and large fires that cannot be controlled. The heat flash would last about 15 seconds and would start fires in curtains, furniture and storage areas, on roofs with wooden shingles, and fires may start on the outside of wooden houses, particularly if they are unpainted or weathered. After a nuclear detonation, you will have about 30 minutes to inspect your home and put out small fires before fallout starts coming down. This is the time to put out small fires before they become big ones. To fight a fire, take away its air by smothering the fire with a blanket, wet if possible, or cool it with water, earth, sand, or a fire extinguisher. Get the burning material out of your home. The shaking of buildings due to blast from any large explosion can break utility inlets. These breaks may allow gas or fuel oil to leak into basements. So when entering a darkened basement, do not smoke or strike a light. Some fires require special methods. If it's a gas fire, shut off the gas main before fighting the fires it has caused. If it's an oil fire, shut off the source of supply before fighting the fire. Do not use water, but smother the fire with earth, sand, or rugs. With an electrical fire, don't use water if power is still on. Shut off the electricity and then put out the fire. For an additional firefighting water supply, try your taps and hose. They may still be functioning. No first aid and home nursing. A first aid course may help you save lives in any emergency. Start training now in first aid and home nursing with the St. John Ambulance and the Red Cross. Make sure you have emergency first aid supplies. Basic first aid and home nursing hints are contained in the booklet, 11 Steps to Survival. No emergency cleanliness. Since your water supply will be limited, you must ration water and use it only for essential purposes. If you have enough warning time before fallout arrives, fill all available receptacles with water. Garbage and human waste should be put into plastic bags. And then into garbage pails, which should be kept tightly covered next to the shelter. Store a 14-day supply of plastic bags. When the radio reports that it is safe to leave your shelter for a short time, bury waste and garbage. Under about 2 feet of earth. Know how to get rid of radioactive dust. Remove your outer clothing while outside and leave it there. Don't shake your clothes inside the house or shelter, as you would only be scattering fallout sand or grit. Wash carefully, especially exposed skin and hair. but do not scrub your skin. Remember, exposure to fallout does not make you radioactive, and radiation sickness cannot be passed on to others. Food and water will be safe to eat and drink if you keep them in covered containers. But you must dust off food containers and wash and peel fruit and vegetables. Know your municipal plan for emergencies. Find out now what your municipality is doing to prepare for either peacetime disasters or nuclear attack situations. You should find out the location of buildings or areas which are considered to have the best shelter potential. You should become familiar with the pattern of designated dispersal routes for evacuation, and how emergency health, welfare, police, utilities, fire, and other services will operate. Have a plan for your family and yourself. In case of nuclear attack, you will be faced with these problems. First, a flash of light and heat, which will last for 15 seconds. Then, a blast wave, which in 35 seconds will have reached 10 miles away. Finally, radioactive fallout, which will start coming down about 30 minutes later. Would you and your family recognize the attack warning signal and know to turn on the radio for instructions? If an attack on North America has been detected, it means you must take protective action immediately. Have you decided where you will take shelter if you're not at home? Will you try to get home? Will your family know what to do if you're not at home? Is there a shelter plan for your children at school? Does everybody in your family know your survival plan? Know the preparations you will have to make? And make your plan workable. Above all, do not forget battery radio and spare batteries to listen to broadcast instructions. For a permanent reminder of what to do in a disaster, ask for the booklet, 11 Steps to Survival. For a copy, ask your local emergency measures or civil defense organization, or write to EMO, Box 10,000, in the capital city of your province. Many people feel that protection against the effects of a nuclear explosion is not possible. This is not true. Protection is possible, and those who follow the 11 steps to survival will greatly increase their chances of surviving. Get a copy and read it.